Every day, you make decisions: what to buy, who to trust, what to believe. But here's the real question. Are those decisions really yours? Or are they designed? This channel breaks down the psychology behind everything. I'm Shrest, and this is where we decode the world.
Welcome to today's Explainer. Look, I want to start us off with just 3 fundamental elements to set the stage: a number, a decision, and a location. Because if you really want to understand the story of how an entire generation practically runs their lives and their work online, you've got to grasp those 3 things first. This is not your standard, shiny tech success story. Honestly, it's a story of raw survival. So, let's just dive right into it. Okay, first up, the number. $10 billion. That is what Notion is valued at today. We're talking massive scale here. Over 100 million people use it, half of the Fortune 500 has adopted it. You've got students, startup founders, entire engineering teams who basically live inside the software. But honestly, we're just going to treat that $10 billion number as background context today, because to me, the valuation isn't the interesting part. The really fascinating part is what they actually had to go through to get there.
And that brings us to the decision. Picture this. It's 2015. They're 2 years into building this company. The founders look at the product, look at their dwindling bank account, and they make a call that most people would absolutely never have the stomach for. They fired their entire team, they scrapped the code entirely, and they voluntarily destroyed everything they had built just to start from absolute zero. Whoa. Hang on a second. They threw away 2 whole years of work and fired their own team? Why on earth would anyone actually do that?
Yeah, let's get into it. Part 1, the flawed foundation, or building the wrong product. So, to understand why they pulled the plug, you've got to look at the founder, Zhao. His background was actually in cognitive science. Back in 2013, he was getting super frustrated by these rigid apps where you, the user, had to adapt your brain to fit the tool. He and his co-founder, Simon Last, wanted to build a Lego for software, a completely blank canvas. But the early versions were buggy, they kept crashing, and when they pitched it, the investors were just scratching their heads. They thought it was way too abstract.
Okay, but wait. If your product is constantly crashing and people are confused, aren't you supposed to listen to your early users and your investors to fix it? Like, isn't that Startup 101?
You would absolutely think so. But the counterintuitive truth of this whole story is that listening to that feedback is exactly what almost killed the company. Feeling the heat, they gave in. They took this grand, expansive vision and dumbed it down into a basic wiki tool just so it fit a mental model that investors could easily recognize. And the result? A totally catastrophic 17% monthly churn rate. Let that sink in. Out of every 100 users, 17 were walking out the door every single month.
Wait, so doing exactly what all the standard startup advice tells you to do, listen to your users, pivot based on feedback, that's what drained their bank account.
Exactly that. By trying to please the investors, they built a product that nobody actually wanted to use. By 2015, the cash was almost entirely gone. They had to pull the plug. Which brings us to the location, and part 2. The Kyoto pivot and getting distance from Silicon Valley. So, after firing everyone and trashing the code, they packed their bags and moved to Kyoto, Japan. Now sure, having their living costs effectively doubled their runway, but the real why behind this decision goes way deeper. Silicon Valley culture is incredibly loud. It's all move fast, ship fast, raise money, show metrics. That toxic pressure cooker is exactly what forced them to build the wrong product in the first place.
Ah, I see. So it wasn't just about finding cheaper rent. They needed to completely isolate themselves from that move fast and break things echo chamber.
Exactly. They had to escape the noise. And let me tell you, the reality of that isolation was intense. Let's just slow down and picture this for a second. They are in a rented house in Kyoto, paper-thin walls, literally no heating. They don't speak a word of Japanese, and nobody in their neighborhood speaks English. They are completely, utterly alone. All they've got are their laptops, an internet connection, and the very last scraps of their funding.
No heating? And not even speaking the language? That's not a tech retreat, that's just raw survival.
It was totally raw survival. In that freezing house, they started over from scratch. They sat there and wrote code for 18 hours a day, every single day, for months on end. They stripped away all the investor feedback, went back to that original, highly ambitious vision of a Lego for software, and they just rebuilt it correctly, from the foundation up.
But this time, they were doing it totally free from investor oversight. There was nobody looking over their shoulder telling them to dumb it down.
Precisely. And what they birthed during those grueling 18-hour coding sessions was the block.
This is the core architecture of Notion. You type a simple line of text, then you hit the slash key, and suddenly that simple text block can transform into a database, a checklist, an image, a Kanban board. Nothing is fixed. It's totally fluid.
Oh, okay, I get it now. You are literally snapping together pieces of software like Lego bricks. That whole abstract Lego concept finally became a concrete, usable thing.
Right. And when they finally launched Notion 2.0, the world got it instantly. It completely swept the product on awards. Massive names like Naval Ravikant started endorsing it. But here is the real genius move. Instead of taking that momentum and buying a ton of ads to scale, Zhao completely ignored traditional marketing. Instead, he personally conducted 200 one-on-one onboarding screen shares. He literally sat there watching users try to navigate the product just so he could remove every single ounce of friction.
Wait, the CEO of a trending, hyped-up tech company was sitting there doing 200 personal screen shares instead of just buying Facebook ads?
He knew that if he could just perfect that user experience, the users themselves would become evangelists. The product would literally market itself.
Which brings us to part 3. Success almost killed them. The 2020 infrastructure collapse.
So that incredibly hands-on strategy worked. Growth started compounding, right? 2018, you see steady growth. 2019, they hit 1 million users. Then, March 2020 happens. The entire world goes remote literally overnight. Every company out there is suddenly scrambling for a digital workspace, and Notion's user base multiplies by 5 in a single year.
But isn't massive overnight adoption the ultimate dream for any startup? I mean, that's hitting the jackpot.
You would think so, but here is the second near-death crisis that nobody really talks about. The terrifying reality was that their entire infrastructure at the time was running on a single database. When millions of users suddenly flooded the platform all at once, the servers started failing. They were literal weeks away from a total system collapse. They were actually about to be crushed under the weight of their own success.
To survive this, the entire engineering team had to stop building new features. The whole roadmap paused. For months, they shifted entirely to invisible back-end infrastructure work. Behind the scenes, the team was essentially rebuilding the engine of a plane while that plane was mid-air, filled with passengers.
Wait, stopping all new features while millions of users are flooding in? That is an unbelievable risk.
It was a massive risk, but they pulled it off. They survived.
And that takes us to part 4, the counterintuitive playbook, or unlearning the rules of Silicon Valley. Surviving that 2020 collapse unlocked a totally new era for them. They didn't rely on aggressive enterprise sales teams. They relied on product-led growth. Basically, an individual employee would find Notion, use it for their own personal notes, and then naturally bring it into their office. Before the IT department even knew what was happening, 30 employees were already running their entire work lives on it. This bottom-up approach drove a staggering 95% organic growth rate. Almost none of their 100 million users came from paid ads.
So people sharing their aesthetic dashboards and posting viral TikToks essentially replaced a multi-million-dollar marketing department? That's insane.
But look, the era of free startup money is over now. And you've got giants like Microsoft literally cloning them with Microsoft Loop. Google is pushing hard into the space. How does a company like Notion actually survive that level of threat today? Well, the answer is Notion 3.0. They aggressively pivoted to deeply embedded AI. Think about it. If a tool holds all of your company's documents, all your projects, all your notes, integrating AI directly into that workspace creates an impenetrable data moat. The more information you put into it, the harder it is for you to ever leave, and the smarter the AI gets at helping you work.
I actually really love this quote from Zhao. He describes his own product as sugar-coated broccoli. Let's be honest here. Organizing systems, managing information, building out databases, that is the broccoli. Nobody wakes up actually wanting to do that. It feels like chores.
Right. And the beautiful, highly customizable drag-and-drop interface, that blank canvas, that's the sugar. It makes the hard work actually feel like play.
You know, stepping back, it's pretty wild to think about what extreme constraints can actually produce. They really didn't take the easy road to get to 10 billion, did they?
No, they really didn't. They built a $10 billion behemoth by intentionally ignoring conventional investor feedback, isolating themselves in a freezing house with paper walls in Kyoto, and then surviving a catastrophic system overload brought on by their own massive success. It really makes you wonder, are comfort and endless resources actually the enemies of great product design? Perhaps extreme constraints and near-death survival are exactly the conditions you need to build a company capable of challenging the biggest tech giants in the world. Something to think about the next time you open up a blank page. Thanks for joining us on this explainer, and we'll catch you in the next one.
About power, identity, and how situations shape who we are. Subscribe.